Yes, Mr. Nel.
May it please the court, milady. Milady, we had an opportunity to discuss this issue with you in chambers. What I've indicated to you and showed you in chambers, milady, is a photograph of a TV set with a clear photograph of this witness with a caption, "On the stand, Michelle Berger, Pistorius' neighbor." Milady, and that is a photograph of a TV set, and the audio is running on the TV set with a photograph of the witness. Yes. In my respect for submission, lady, it's a violation of a clear court order. There's one aspect I may add, and that is that the news channel ENCA, of which that is a caption, made contact with your clerk this morning and asked them this exact question: are they allowed to put a photograph, which they found somewhere else, on the TV whilst the witness gives evidence? Lady, as far as I know, it was said no. They still went ahead and did it. My lady, I seek two orders. Firstly, that it's made clear by the court that that's a violation, that no photographs and or videos of a witness should be shown whilst the witness gives evidence. And secondly, my lady, that an investigation would follow to establish what further steps should be taken as far as this violation is concerned. As a court, please.
Thank you very much. Is there anything from...
Thank you, my lady. What Mr. Nel, my learned friend, has indeed submitted appears to be correct. When he speaks to an investigation that is to follow, that is of course the natural course of matters if there has been a transgression of a court order, and we have no difficulty in that regard. I echo his sentiments. However, we believe as the defense that we've reached a very important stage in the cross-examination of this particular witness, and we want to seek to continue with that without any further delay. No doubt your ladyship will make an appropriate order as requested by Mr. Nel. I have nothing further to add. Thank you, my lady.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I've heard both counsel. I must say this is very disturbing. I am warning the media, if you do not behave, you are not going to be treated with soft gloves by this court. For this reason, I want to give the order as sought by Mr. Nel. One, this order that I'm granting is to stop any photographs of any sorts. It doesn't matter where it was sourced from, regarding any witness, including this witness, who has asked this court not to have his or her photographs published. Secondly, an investigation is to follow to find out exactly what is happening, the extent, this may just be the tip of the iceberg, the extent of the non-compliance or the violation of the court order.
As a court, please, my lady.
Yes. We shall proceed without any further delay.
Indeed. Thank
yes, Mr. Roux.
I'll take you back, ma'am, where I ask you, just to refresh your memory if it's necessary. I said to you, you did not know what happened in that house. I asked you about the two of them screaming for help and the woman, according to you, also screaming in addition to that. And I asked you then what was there on those limited facts to say that it could not be?
Sorry, my lady, can you please repeat what? I couldn't hear your second word.
Sorry, I asked then what was there on those limited facts that could cause you to say it could not be?
My lady, as I stated before, what my husband said was in the media. They said Mr. Oscar Pistorius accidentally shot his girlfriend because he thought there was an intruder and he was shooting the intruder. And what I heard that female screaming terribly. Her life was threatened in the house. I could not imagine her life not being threatened in the house. So it could not be for me.
But you did not know if there was an intruder in the house or not.
Milady, I wasn't there, so I never saw anything. I could only hear her shouts and her terrible screaming.
Yes, but even that morning you still did not know if there was an intruder in the house.
Milady,
That he mistook her for an intruder, for instance. You didn't have enough facts.
Milady, it's based on what I heard, and as I heard, I present to the court.
But however troubles my mind, man. The second line. Said the following: there was not an intruder in the house. And I was surprised that you could say it at that stage because you did not know.
The media
so I
stated...
need you to answer, how can you say at that stage that there was not an intruder in the house on those limited facts?
Milady, as I stated what I stated before, the media stated Mr. Pistorius thought there was an intruder in the house, but the screams that I heard was the petrifying screams of someone that's life was threatened. Someone had to be in the house threatening her. It's not just the thought of thinking there might be an intruder.
Yes, I understand that, and that caused you to think it was a housebreaking or a robbery.
Yes, I thought so.
That even caused you to think when the husband was, or the man was screaming for help, it didn't tell you, well, that's not real, that's a bit fake. It caused you to think it was genuine, a man screaming for help. There's a housebreaking or a robbery.
Yes, my lady, everything I heard that evening contributed to my perception that it was a housebreak.
But then I still don't understand, with respect. In the answer just before the adjournment, in trying to justify your answer, you also added there was not an intruder in the house. And you conceded later on that you could not say that. So I'm trying to find out, why did you say there was not an intruder in the house with those limited information at the time?
My lady, but as I understand even now, the defense also says never spoke of an intruder in the house, that there was an intruder. There wasn't an intruder in the house.
My question is different. How could you say, you were standing there and saying it as part of your answer, and I quote, there was not an intruder in the house?
My lady, that's my perception, as I stated before. What I heard, those petrifying screams, there had to be someone threatening her life. That's why she was shouting like that. So in my mind, there was, the way I saw it that evening, there was someone standing there threatening that man and that woman because she was petrified. That's life-threatening screams that she gave. It was petrifying. In my mind, they were attacked in the house. And then I heard the gunshots. That was a logical deduction.
I understand that, but that's not the question. And I'm going to show to you now why I'm putting this question to you again. I tried to find out on what basis could you stand there today and to say with reference to that conversation, you say, there was not an intruder in the house. That's your answer. I listened to it. There was not an intruder in the house. It's one of the reasons that you gave to explain your answer. There was not an intruder in the house. And subsequently you confirmed that you cannot say whether or not there was an intruder. Not that morning, not when you spoke to your husband. Is that true?
My lady, I wasn't in the house. I never saw an intruder. And for the court, also no one says there was an intruder in the house. But what I heard at that stage, on that evening, the 14th of February 2013, I thought there was an intruder due to the terrifying events I heard.
The question is different. When we dealt with the conversation you had with your husband, one of the answers given to you as a fact was, to justify your answer was, there was not an intruder in the house.
Yes, I was surprised. I was very surprised.
You couldn't say it at that time. You could not say it at that time that there was not an intruder. You didn't know. I'm not saying there was one. I say you did not know.
But that was my perception. I'm just giving to the court my perception that morning.
You know what it is, and why I'm getting back to this point. And I will refer to a number of instances in your evidence, and I will submit to the court. I want to give you the opportunity to respond to it. What you do, you have watched Sky News, you've watched other news channels, you've spoken to people that came out in your evidence, and you have a retrospective knowledge, and you take that knowledge and you come and give evidence today as if it's the knowledge of that fateful evening.
Milady, as I stated yesterday, I spoke to numerous people that morning before finding out of anything that it was Mr. Pistorius. I spoke to my colleagues at work. They can justify what I said. I even spoke to my friend that's here today to support me. I phoned her at the hospital to tell her about what I heard. So I did not change and alter what I heard. What I heard that day, what I said to the people that I spoke to, is what I'm telling the court today.
Now, I've made the point. I want to ask you something else. Would you bear with me? My understanding is that that fateful early morning, late evening, whatever, you did not know who was living in the house of Oscar Pistorius.
That's correct, milady.
You did not even know it was his house.
That's correct, milady.
Yet, yesterday, you said the following. When I ask you about screaming in the house, you said, I heard two people. So I definitely thought there's, and then you say, I knew there's a man and a woman living there. How did you know that?
Well, I knew there was a man and a woman in that house. The events went together. The shouting, the calling for help, the screaming, the gunshots. It was a unit. And it was coming from a house. And that's what I referred to.
Now, I asked you about your statement yesterday. Maybe the correct approach of mine should be, we have our own transcription. I think just in all fairness that we should make that available. If I refer to something specific that you can of course see it would be unfair not to do that. I just realized. And I'll give one to the state as well. It won't be a constant reference, but just that it's not blind when I'm referring to it.
There's no objection to that, Mr. Mayor.
I don't have objection to that, milady. The only it will help, but in the courts, the official stenographers would provide a court record that one can refer to.
Have they?
No, they haven't.
Yes.
Now we have an unofficial court record. I will receive it. We'll have an opportunity to check it against the official court record, milady. But if I receive it, I'll receive it with that proviso.
Thank you.
Of course, just to assist, my lady. I'm not saying that it's binding in anything. It's just to assist.
Yes.
Thank you. asked you about your statement made to Captain van Aert. And I quote your words, and it's page 73. My statement, how I gave it there, is precisely how I heard it.
At what page are you, Mr.
Page 73, my lady. Ma'am,
Yes, I do agree.
if necessary, I will refer you to that record, maybe if you listen to the questions. Do you still stand by that?
That the events that I heard are,
Precisely, my statement,
Yes.
how I gave it there, is precisely how I heard it.
that's what I heard. Yes.
That's precisely. You were quite precise. You were accurate in telling, in setting what happened, setting it out in your statement.
As I heard it, I stated to
Yes.
Captain, that's correct.
Well, it's not what you stated to him, it's what's in your statement.
Yes,
That's correct.
yes,
So what we know is he took it down correctly.
yes. Captain van Aert is very professional. He
Yes.
took it down like that.
Yes, he took it down correctly. It's precisely that. What you told him is precisely that.
Yes.
That's your statement. Now, yesterday, you gave evidence that you heard the shouting, not the first when you woke up, the second time.
After the call. Sorry, are you referring to the shouts, the terrible screams after the telephone call? Just before the shots?
Yes, well, I don't know just before the shots. I don't know anymore, because what you told us yesterday is that I heard the shots, that's page 79, but just listen to the question, please. And during the shots, and there's many places, next I'll go to all the places, I heard the woman screaming. That cannot be for two reasons. But let's start again with this. That cannot be. Do you agree?
No, it is. I heard the woman shouting. The shot started and I did hear her voice. And as I stated yesterday, moments after the last shot was the last time I heard her voice.
I'm going to read it to you again. And it's at many places. Just accept that. I heard the shots, and during the shots I heard the woman screaming.
Yes, that's correct.
I say to you for two reasons it cannot be. The first one is, that's not your statement that's precisely correct to Captain van Aert. In your statement you said, I heard the shots, the screaming, and then the shots.
My lady, I object. It is a rehashing of an objection we had yesterday. It's an exact rehashing of paragraph 6 of yesterday, when we excused this witness. Yesterday I objected, I object again. It is a matter of interpretation in Afrikaans. But and I object. I did it yesterday, and I'm doing it again.
Yes, Mr. Rowe.
No, it's that dealt with the screaming subsequent. That deals with the screaming subsequent. Now coming to that, you have Exhibit M. Exhibit M, you don't need interpretation, my lady. It is quite clear, we dealt with what Mr. Nell is referring to, is whether there was a subsequent screaming. That was the objection. The record is clear. Can I read it?
Yes, you referred to Exhibit M.
Paragraph 6, Exhibit M.
Yes, I've got it.
First it as ek hoor die vrou gil en toe 4 shots. I heard the woman screaming, and yes, there was a debate, is one scream, more scream, it's not important. I heard the woman screaming and then 4 shots. And I will come back to her husband's statement as well. But that's clear. It's not during the shots. That's the only point I'm making. That's not open for interpretation.
So you're specifically referring to this sentence?
That's specifically referring to that. And did you hear that sentence?
Milady, may I reply?
Yes, yes, please.
Milady, with the utmost respect, that was my argument yesterday. One cannot read that one sentence in isolation. It's a full paragraph. One has to read the full paragraph. If you take one sentence in isolation, it doesn't make sense. But if you read the full paragraph, and that's what I did yesterday. Ek hoor die vrou gil en toe 4 skote. Then the shots are explained. Daar was 'n pose van ongeveer 2 sekondes vanaf die eerste skoot na die tweede skoot en toe die skote direk na mekaar gevolg. Die vrou het die laaste gil. Not you can't read in here that she shouted again. She screamed, shots. The last of the screams was after the shots. That's how I interpret it.
But that's not the question. The question is with regard to that first, the second sentence in the paragraph.
Yes, my lady, but that second sentence should be read in terms of the whole paragraph. Nou, ek het die vrou hoor gil en toe 4 skote. There's nothing saying ek het die vrou hoor gil, die gil and then shots. Gil en toe 4 skote. And then, my lady, the last sentence read, die vrou het die laaste gil gegee, ongeveer 2 sekondes na die skote opgehou. It's not a counting, my lady. I say it's a continuation. At least that's an interpretation, it's my interpretation. And it cannot be said by Mr. Roux that is exactly what she meant. I had the exact same argument yesterday, that one cannot take one sentence out of a paragraph. That's good.
Yes, Mr. Roux.
Maybe to Sister Court, I'll make it easy with the follow-up question, if I may.
Yes, yes.
Then, Madam, if I may, my lady. We have now a statement that's precisely correct. You've got a doctorate. The easiest thing, if you wanted to portray anything else, do you agree with this? To say to Captain van Aert, during the shots, I still heard screaming. That was easy to say in Afrikaans. Terwyl die skote geskiet word, hoor ek haar nog skreeu. That was easy to say. Do you admit that?
That I spoke about the screaming. I then explained the shots. He asked me about the shots. I explained the shots. And he asked me, when was the last time you heard her? And I said, just afterwards. It was screaming, shots. I still heard her, and the last one was moments after the last shot. And that's how it was taken down. My statement is only a few pages. I'm speaking here for many hours. I can explain very minute details to the court.
My question was different, and it's this. With Captain van Aert, it was really easy to say to him, Captain van Aert, let me add when you say, en toe die skote. Terwyl die skote geskiet is, during the shooting, I also heard the shots. Question is this, it was easy to tell him that. Just that. There was nothing that stopped you from telling him that. That's the question.
My lady, I could have said that to him, but it was implied with what I said to him anyway when we were doing the statement.
There's a second problem that I'm going to put to you that will come out in evidence later. And that is when you have 4 shots in a confined room. In some quick succession, even granting you a small lapse between the first and second, the sound of the shots would make it impossible for you at the distance of 177 meters to hear screaming at the same time.
My lady, is that put as a fact, or is that put as a witness that will come say that? Mr. Roux telling this witness as a fact that is impossible? Because
Well, that is cross-examination.
my lady, he can
Is
say
putting words into the mouth of the witness.
that. Me,
The witness, no, he's got a right to do that.
my lady, that is so. Understand,
Yes.
with the utmost, I understand cross-examination. But Mr. Rook cannot state, he can tell the court that he call a witness to say it's impossible to hear, or he can say, my client would say it's impossible to hear, or he could say, in my view, but he can't state it as a fact, because it's not a fact, my lady. It's not a fact that it's impossible to hear screams during 4 shots. It's not. So, but it's put that it is. That is my objection. Right? Counsel cannot put that it's impossible, in his view.
What if she denies it?
What
He
if-
can't say were you lying unless then the question will arise whether there's a witness to say that this witness is lying.
My lady, I understand what can happen further. My only objection, my lady, is to the fact that it's put as a fact to a witness, a lay witness, standing in the witness box. Counsel put to the witness, it is impossible. And it's not, my lady.
Well,
That is my problem.
I'm not persuaded, Mr. Nel.
As a court pleases, my lady.
Yes.
Thank you, madam. You've heard what I put to you. Any comment?
Milady, I heard shots and I heard her screams. As I stated yesterday, I can't say with which of the shots I heard her screams, but the shots started, I heard the screams, and shortly after was the last that I heard her. It wasn't a minute afterwards, it was just after.
Just help us to understand that sequence. Because you've said now, the shot started, I heard the screams, and then I cannot say something. You cannot say what?
I said, as I stated yesterday, there were 4 shots. I cannot say with shot 1 and shot 3 I heard her shots. I can say, yes, I heard her screaming once the shot started. I still heard her screaming.
Well, you say
That's
two
what I
things.
heard.
You say 2 things. 3 things, in fact. You say, I heard the shots, and then I heard the screams. Then you say, I heard the screaming when the shots started. And then you say, I heard the shots and still the screaming. Which one was it?
Milady, as I stated before, after I made the call and my husband went back to the balcony, I heard her petrifying screams. Then the shots started. While the shots were going, there were 4 shots. I heard her again, and the last time I heard the woman's voice was shortly after the last shot, which for me was the 4th shot. That's the last time.
Can I ask you this, ma'am, if I may? Trying to understand this. So, it seems, and I don't know, please correct me, it was a screaming that started, is it at the same time after shots, shortly thereafter, or
Ma'am, as
very
I
shortly before?
Milady, as I stated, when the shot started, and I heard her voice again.
So,
I can't say it was with the number 1 and number 3.
Yes.
I can say the shot started, and I did hear her voice.
Can I accept it then in your answer, because you repeat it, that the sequence, and I'm not taking you on what's in your statement on that, don't be concerned about it. It's this, you heard the shots, and then you heard the screaming, and whether that screaming was now between shot 1, 2 or 3, or just shortly after 4, you cannot say. Is that a correct reflection of what you said?
I just want to repeat that I'm sure we're
Yes.
communicating between each other. So you're saying the shot started,
Yes,
and I heard her screaming sometime during the shots,
yes.
and shortly after was the last time I heard that
Yes.
witness, the female's
Yes.
screams. Yes, that's how I have
Are
it.
you satisfied that that is your version?
That's my version.
Yes. So what we do know, the screaming was, whatever time, nanosecond, split second, 1 second after the shot started, but you don't know in between which shot was it now, more intense, less intense.
Yes, Milady, I'd like to state to the court, we dissecting this, it's taking a long time, but when it happens, there's 4 shots and there's screams. I wasn't sitting there with a notebook.
No, we understand this. We do
Yes.
understand it. Yes.
Now, trust me, I also understand it. I'm just trying to find out, and you've repeatedly said it now, and that's what you said yesterday, that the shot started, then the screaming, but what you cannot bind yourself to is when exactly was the screaming between which shots. That's all you say.
That's correct, sir.
But we know the starting point. The starting point was the shots, then the screams, and whenever they followed in that period.
Sorry, to which starting point are you referring?
Shots, screams whenever in that period in between the 4 shots. I'm not binding you to it. And then you heard a last scream after the 4th shot.
The last scream was moments after the last shot.
Right?
And sorry, if we're speaking about from when the shot started, yes, that's correct. There was screaming before.
Yeah,
so
but that was when your husband, when you woke up,
yes, that's
and
correct.
your husband went to the balcony. That was before the telephone call.
Yes. And
So-
also just after the telephone call, she screamed again before the shots.
How long before the shots?
It was moments before the shots, as I stated before.
Was it
Shortly.
Moments.
Yeah. Once again, I didn't take the time, but
Yes.
it was short.
So it was moments, she screamed, and then shots, and then screaming again.
It was moments before she screamed. There were shots with screams, and it died down just moments after the last shot.
So the shouting, the screaming before the shot, that would have been a moment. Momentum.
Moments.
Yeah.
1 or 2, 3 moments. I did not take the time. I
But
can't
it's-
say.
It's very short.
It
It's
was
moments.
shortly before.
Yes. And what you're telling the court, what you could hear fear in that voice, you could hear emotion in that voice, accepting that those screaming predominantly coincided and was simultaneous with the firing of 4 gunshots. You had that ability from 177 meters to hear emotion and fear and increase in intensity
Ma'am,
in that moment plus the gunshots.
ma'am, the terrible emotion I heard, the petrifying screams, I heard that moments before the gunshots. That's how I could hear the emotion. I did hear it. It was petrifying.
But we know it was a moment.
Moments.
It was so short in that moments you can hear all those, the emotions, the intensity, the increased intensity, the just petrified, all in those moments.
Yes, ma'am. It's automatic. It's a
Yes.
instinct. You
Yes,
hear it.
177 meters away in your house,
Yes.
coming from another house.
Ma'am, our windows were open. We had no aircon and no roof fan, and there was no vertical building between our house at that stage and the other house. So, and we're in a very, very quiet area. We almost next to the Farm Inn, which is a nature reserve, small nature reserve. So it's very quiet. Sound travels.
You know what, on your version, what is an added difficulty, I will submit to the court. If you were right, and if you heard the shots and not the cricket bat, that I will come to when we deal with reliability, then we know what should be common cause between the defense and the state is that Reva was inside the toilet with a locked door, and we can show the photos with a closed window. Will you accept that?
If it's like that, I wasn't there. Visually, I couldn't see. I was just hearing, so I'm testifying on what I heard.
I must fast forward now on
No.
your version to test it. And that's what I say. What you are saying to the court must be seen in the context of the following. We know, there's no dispute, that when the shots were fired, Reva was in the toilet. We know the door was closed. We know it was locked. We know, we have the photos, that the toilet window was closed. So what you are saying to the court, 177 meters away, where you only had a moment before the shots, and then shots where the person is in a confined space, you could hear increased anxiety, fear, and motion in that moment, because the rest, moments later, we know there were gunshots. You heard that out of a closed toilet and a house 177 meters away.
Milady, that's correct. I heard that.
Ma'am, I will invite the state at a time later on, we don't want to waste time, to go and do a test. And I tell you now, it's a fact, in case there's some misunderstanding. You can scream as loud as you want in that toilet and we'll put the door back for you. And 177 meters, you go and tell us that you can hear that screaming. But you do, that's the first challenge.
Milady, as I stated yesterday, there's been quite a bit of construction in the area. So what was last year open felt, there's now houses, various houses between us, which is blocking. So I don't know how we'll do that test.
And you can even stand closer. Don't do the test, please. Take the state and we await the results. The second point is, but your evidence is going further. It was so distinct what you could hear from a person on your version in the toilet that you could hear increased emotion, increased fear and increased intensity. That's what you tell the court today.
Milady, definitely her shouts before the gunshots were more petrifying than the shouts that woke me up that evening.
Then you can go so far, but I don't know if you can, let me ask you, to say that that person in those difficult circumstances, on your version in a locked toilet, closed window, moment, you could just hear the scream a moment before the shot, because then we know the shots. Can you say that was the same person that you heard when you wake up the screaming?
Yes, milady, it was the same woman shouting and screaming.
You could hear from that distance, it's the same voice.
Yes, milady, I could hear. It's the same woman shouting before and after. Wow.
Let me understand. You are 100% confident that you not think, that you could hear it's the same woman shouting.
Yes, milady, I could hear the same woman shouting.
Yes, now let's test that. You wake up, you say, with a woman screaming. Not so?
That's correct.
Now we know there's some time lapse that it was not screaming on your version.
Well, my version is I woke up and I heard her screaming.
Yes, but we know on your version then there was some time lapse where there was no screaming.
I referred to a time where I made a call, so I wasn't focusing on screaming.
Well, we have your precisely
yes,
correct statement.
Also, when the gentleman called for help, I didn't hear her screaming. I heard him shouting help. So that's correct.
Well, more than that. Far more than that. We have your precise statement, and you're welcome to read it again. One thing we do know, there's no mention about screaming when you had this conversation with your husband and taking your telephone and giving them, and him phoning the wrong security and him telling you that it's the wrong security. In that time, did you hear screaming?
Milady, I was focusing on the call and what my husband was saying. I wasn't listening to anything else. I was focused, as I am today, focused on here. I was focused on my husband and the call.
So what is
I did not hear the woman then. I was focusing on the call.
The last part, I couldn't hear what you said.
I was not focusing on the screaming, so I don't know if there was screaming. I can just say I was focusing on the call and trying to get hold of security.
So what you say to me, is it because it's so far away that the moment you focused on the telephone, you did not hear the screaming?
No, milady, it's not because of the distance. Her screaming was very clear that evening. I heard her, as I stated when I heard her.
Let me repeat again. When you focused on your telephone, you did not hear her screaming.
I did not focus on her screaming, so I cannot state whether she was screaming or not.
Did you hear the screaming?
I was not focusing on it, so I could not hear
My
it.
question difficult.
No, I did not hear it because I was busy calling.
Yes, but that's the point that I'm making, what you're saying to the school. When you focused on the telephone, you did not hear the screaming.
Correct.
Is that unfair?
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Why is it necessary that I have to put the same question 4 times?
I just want to make certain there's clarity, sir.
Yes. Ma'am, but tell me about, and please share full facts with the court. about how it came about. Captain van Aert is now there for the purpose of taking statements from you and from your husband. Share with the court that process, please.
Milady, my Captain van Aert arrived, and then I had to leave the area. So he was speaking to my husband and doing the testimony, the statement. And then later on I was called down. My husband left. He had a business event to go to, and it was only Captain van Aert and myself at home. And I then gave my statement to him. We first discussed it. I told him what I heard, and then he took down my statement.
I really apologize. You just dropped your voice and I could not hear the first part, so only for that reason.
Yeah.
Did you say that your husband gave his statement and he left?
He had to go.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, my husband was at home first. He got home before me. Him and Captain van Aert were busy. I was not allowed to be there because I was not allowed to hear what they were discussing. So I had to go to another area. And then when he was finished, he had a business meeting to attend to, so he left. And I went to Captain van Aert, and then it was my turn. I discussed the events with Captain van Aert, and he did the statement.
So that day, the two of you did not, your husband and you could not discuss your statement. What you're going to say in the statement?
No, my version is my version. If my husband, whatever he has to say, is he has to say. We didn't go and try and discuss and manipulate anything. No.
I understand. No. And you say that when you arrived at your house, your husband was already busy giving his statement and you did not interfere.
No.
You excused yourself.
No, sorry sir. As I said, when I arrived, my husband was already there and Captain van Aert, and then they did their bit. I wasn't present, if I can use other words now. I wasn't present. I had to be separate so that I could not interfere with them. And then later, my husband, when he was done, he went to a business responsibility, and it was my turn with Captain van Aert.
And when you sat with Captain van Aert, did you not use your husband's statement perhaps to refresh your memory or to, as a sample, how to give your statement?
No, sir, I did not see his statement then.
You have not seen it? It was not there, you didn't see it?
I did not see his statement.
He also didn't use it, you didn't use it?
No, he didn't.
And you were quite willing to give him a full statement?
Yes, sir. I said exactly as I stated to the court, as I heard the events.
And you trusted him?
I do trust Captain van Aert.
And, I mean, I'm not too sure if I ask you your cell phone number, whether you would give it to me. But if he asks you your cell phone number, would you give it to him?
Yes, I trust Captain van Aert.
Did you know your cell number at that time?
My cell number?
Yes, cell phone number.
Yes, I know my cell phone number.
And if he asks you for your cell phone number, would you give it to him? At the time of the statement, for instance?
I would give my number to him.
There could be no reason for not doing that.
Yeah.
Well, let me just excuse me. So you now can you remember where it was that you sat with Captain van Aert?
We sat at the dining room table, because that's the only place we could sit.
And you said already your husband's statement was not there?
Well, no, I said I didn't see it. I didn't read it. I didn't see it. I don't know. Captain van Aert took the statement. I don't know where he had it. He had it somewhere. Obviously, because he didn't leave the room. He had it.
Did you see it on the table? That you can read it?
I didn't read the statement.
Did you see it?
Well, I didn't look for the statement, so if it was there, it might have been lying there with papers, but I did not look for the statement.
Was he referring you to his statement?
No, he didn't.
To help you, to say, let me help you?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't referring to that. He asked me for my version. What did I hear?
And you gave then your independent version?
Yes, as I
independent from your husband?
Correct.
Lady, there would be a bit of administration following, and I would rather, can we take the short adjournment now?
How long? How short?
I see it's nearly tea time, my lady.
Oh.
It's then just to, I want to make certain documents available.
Yes. Thank you. Court will adjourn.
Zijn jullie ook bij de